Righty. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here today for our Presidential Ticket Candidate Forum. If you're here for Leadership Initiative, can I please have you send your first and last name as well as your SAC state email and also your student ID to the Q&A session, please. Or you can also email it to Lisa at lisa.dalton@csus.edu so you can get your credits sent on over. So thank you for joining us here today. As mentioned, my name is Tyler Gartner, and today we'll be doing our candidate forum for our presidential tickets, which encompasses the president and executive vice president. Today, we will be hearing from Adderall Ayubgalan and Christopher Gill, and also Natalie Andrea Dominguez and Veronica Bulos, and also Emily Jackson and Bashar Alakathani. Within today's session, basically, I'll be our moderator and Lisa Dalton will be keeping track of our time. Each person will be given a 2-minute opening statement. Each ticket will be giving a 2-minute opening statement. We will then pose a general question for each candidate and then a positional question for the president and executive vice president, where they will then have a 2-minute independent response. And then we will end with a 4-minute joint closing statement. And based off how much time we have left, we will then take questions from the audience. And to my audience members, can I please have you hold off until that segment to then pose your questions within the Q&A portion of the below chat area. So within that, let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and get started. So starting us off, we'll be doing our opening statement and we'll have Adderall and Christopher to lead us. And you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, everybody. My name is Adderall, and I'm running for ASI president.
Hello, my name is Christopher, and I'm running for the executive vice president for ASI.
And this is our opening statement. So some of the things that we truly want to focus on working is advocating for students. We feel like students' voices are not being heard enough, no matter how many times we stand up for them. The voices are not getting through, and that's a problem.
As well as some of the other things we want to advocate for are more lights on campus, because at night it gets very dark on our campus and it makes a lot of our student body feel unsafe, as well as we want to work on working with our CSOs and our campus PD to make sure that rounds are actually being done at night to help with feel more safe around campus and hopefully help break down or end a lot of the break-ins and things like that we've been seeing a lot on campus.
And with that, we want to hire more WEAVE advocates to help with decrease the sexual assault that's been happening on our campus. There's only 2 currently, and we have 30,000 students on campus. That's not enough to have, and no one is doing anything about them, and that's very annoying.
Another issue we want to address is the food insecurity crisis that we have on campus, because many of our students on campus are food insecure, and the ASI food pantry is a huge resource. But another big issue is that our dining commons on campus in the North Village, as well as many of our eateries on campus, are really unsanitary and are not up to certain standards of food, and students are paying thousands of dollars for meal plans, but aren't being provided with safe food or actually ethically sourced food. So that we'd love to address that and help work with the companies that do this food, like UEI and Hornet Hospitality, to see where we can better that process, maybe even start looking for local resources of food.
And then another thing that we want to do is, in my current position, I keep my constituents very up to date with everything that I do. I try to do a day in the life of a director, and I feel like, if elected, I would bring students with me into the conversations that they are allowed to be part of, to make sure that their voices are being heard. I'd rather have them come with me than speaking on their behalf. I think that transparency is very important, and it's definitely needed to have when students are electing us.
We also really want to just demystify the whole process of the ASI board, because currently it feels like it's a lot of students come and feel like they're not having their thoughts heard, or they're not seeing the process of complaints rolling through or things like that. And we'd love to, like Adderall said, bring them along for the ride, bring them into conversations that they can be a part of, let them know what's going on, show them that, we are here for them and that we are trying to make it easier for them to come in and feel like they are welcome to come in and make complaints or file issues or just talk to us about anything that they see on campus, because if we are elected, we are being elected by you, and you are our constituents. And at the end of the day, we represent you, and we want to hear you and work with you. And that's one of our biggest goals, is to feel that, to make all students feel like they can come to us even in passing or in classes and bring a complaint and feel like it's going to be answered, or even if we can't answer it right away, have the whole process and they can work through it.
Thank you, Adderall and Christopher. We will now be hearing a 2-minute opening statement from Natalie and Veronica.
Good afternoon, fellow Hornets. My name is Natalia Dominguez, and I'm running for ASI President. And this is Veronica Bolis running for Executive Vice President. And together we're running for the ASI presidential ticket. We'd first like to thank all those involved in setting up this forum and for everyone watching. Thank you for taking the time to hear about who we are and allowing us to share our story. Veronica and I share similar stories in how we grew up and why that inspired us to be in student government. We're both women of color and first-generation college students. We have firsthand witnessed and experienced the injustices towards women of color and the institutional barriers that first-generation college students face. We understand and recognize the cultural barriers that affect people of color from pursuing higher education. And because of this, we both have acknowledged the lack of representation within these positions and have motivated us to use our voice to advocate for these issues that affect our student population. We both stepped foot on this campus with a passion to advocate for these issues and a dedication to resolving these issues. Experiences like ours are the many reasons why we started our journey with ASI through committees our freshman year and led us to run for office our sophomore year. I currently serve as the Vice President of Academic Affairs, and Veronica serves as the Director of Social Sciences and Interdisciplinary Studies. Throughout our time on the board, we have learned about ASI's operation, have made connections with various campus partners and administrators, and collectively have worked on issues relating to mental health, basic needs, diversity and inclusion, campus safety, and academic issues. We hope to continue to address these issues through the President and Executive Vice President position next year, all while ensuring that the student voice is being considered every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica and Natalie. We will now be hearing from Emily and Bashar.
Okay. Bashar, do you want to do a little pass the bat thing? Okay.
Hi, my name is
cool.
Bashar Lavakani. I am running for the EVP position.
Hi, my name is Emily Jackson, and I'm running for the presidential position.
So we're running off of 3 main points, and we call them the 3 E's. One of them being enhancing, ensuring, and empowering students. Emily, do you want to explain what enhancing is?
Okay, so enhancing is definitely one of my more ballpark, where it's basically advocating for the diverse communities on campus. Being an institution that serves more than like 30,000 students and projected to serve for like maybe more in the upcoming semester, the communities on campus feels as if there's like a standstill where we're all trying to get our voices out together and trying to make sure that each community is like acknowledged. So similar to like the recent opening of the MLK Center and the APITA Center, our goal as a presidential ticket is to sort of enhance the feeling of inclusivity and belongingness on campus, making sure that voices are heard and are equally advocated for and receive like more equitable solutions under the AICP plan. For example, there are still professors on campus that feel that they are under cultural taxation, especially like minority professors who feel as if they still have to go out of their way to actually teach people about their certain like identity or minority. And then aside from that, the other E is ensuring. So this means like ensuring that students are set up for success in their academic and career goals. We have a special interest in international and transfer students. I being an international student, Bashar being a transfer student. And as much as possible, we want to make sure that students are tapping into the resources that not only the campus has to offer, but the opportunities that ASI as a student body or a governing student body has to offer.
I'm sorry, but the speaker's time has elapsed. Thank you for that, Emily and Bashar, though. Given that that is our opening statement, we will now circle back and over to Adderall and Christopher to then answer our general question. So it goes as follows. Cooperation is key to an effective board. What examples can you provide of your ability to work with and lead others towards completing a common goal? And what is the common goal you think ASI should have? Once again, cooperation is key to an effective board. And what examples can you provide of your ability to work with and lead others towards completing a common goal? What is one common goal you think ASI should have? And you have 2 minutes to respond.
So currently in my position as the Resident Hall Associates President, I actually lead a general board and an executive board twice a week. And so that's where I have some experience in positions of leading boards and working together and making common goals. But one of the common goals we really want to work towards is honestly, it's the student safety on campus and helping eliminate the sexual assaults on campus, or at least decreasing it and getting more support for advocates. And that really does require our all board support, because every board member works with different deans and works with different committees and they all work in different aspects of our student government. And it's really key that we're all communicating and getting the word out there and communication across that things need to change and need to be worked on. And an effective way to do that is to sit down and listen to all the board members, really work with them, see what their needs are, see what they need to help forward their efforts in our joint goals, or see if, and, have them come to us and be open enough where if they really need help, they feel like they can come to us and we can respond and help them instead of hindering them or them feeling like we're not helping them anyway or doing anything.
And to piggyback off of that, another common goal is obviously the basic needs. You have to have the basic stuff to be able to get things done. Like, you're here to get your degree, and if you are suffering with housing insecurities, with food insecurities, that's going to make it very hard to do. And that's how barriers get started. And ever since I started working at student health and counseling and learned about the barriers, I have worked with them nonstop to try to make the barriers less for students to have, because we're all students at the end of the day, and we're all here to get a degree. That's another common goal.
Thank you.
Thank you for that answer, Adderall and Chris. We will now be going on over to Natalie and Veronica to answer the same question. And it is as follows. Cooperation is key to an effective board. What examples can you provide of your ability to work with and lead others towards completing a common goal? And what is a common goal you think ASI should have?
Thank you so much. So just to start off, I think to go into our leadership roles, so me and Natalie do currently both serve on the ASI Board of Directors, where we have worked with the other board members to come up with strategic priorities, and we've had to kind of work in cooperation to achieve those priorities and to achieve our common goal as a board. So that's basically where we've started our experience with that. Natalie has chaired Student Academic Senate, where she's basically led the membership in the committee to fight for academic issues and academic policies. And I also have served as the vice president and the co-founder of the Arab Student Union on our campus, where I've had to lead our community and in advocacy and celebration of our culture. But most importantly, I also have served as the vice chair of the board this year, where I've basically been able to chair our ASI board meetings a couple times and basically learn those roles of chairing the board meetings and leadership.
And a common goal that we have for ASI, we have, of course, our priorities, which we'll go into a little bit later. But I think a common goal that ASI has to have, especially the presidential ticket, is unity with the student body and ASI as a whole. The ASI Board of Directors cannot function or do what we do without the student body. So it's very important that we're making sure that all ASI board members have that common goal and making sure that student perspective is involved in making decisions about the student body and that can affect them, and making sure and ensuring that all opinions and all students from different ethnic groups and who have different views are involved in that process and making sure that they feel heard.
Thank you, Veronica and Natalie. We will now be hearing from Emily and Bashar real quick. You have 2 minutes to respond to the same question, and it is as follows. Cooperation is key to an effective board. What examples can you provide of your ability to work with and lead others towards completing a common goal? And what is one common goal you think ASI should have?
So between me and Emily, we do have, Emily has a lot of experience in terms of advocacy and working with people to change policy and affect the way our campus and many other parts that we've advocated for have been changed. And I feel like a common goal for us is to make sure that students are represented, that not only do we represent them, but they get a chance to give their voice out and to be listened themselves. And so one way we're going to work on achieving that common goal is by making sure that ASI make sure that our students are engaged by increasing our student stakeholder engagement. And this could be done in terms of political, like how students engage politically on campus with our committees, for example, or any other events that we may do. But this also could be done in terms of clubs, extracurriculars, organizations, and it's all to ensure that students have a place on campus and that they are engaged so that their voices are heard and that they aren't just being, left behind. Every student has a place on campus, and just to make sure that they are being given that chance to represent themselves and to have their voices brought out. So we do have a lot of committees, and that's something I want to touch up on. So you might hear me regurgitate that. But aside from that, I want to make sure that students are given a chance to look at our committees and be a part of it. There's a lot of students who may not be poli-sci majors, but could be a part of these committees. For example, our finance committee, I feel like a lot of business students could be into that, and they could get their voices heard, give their ideas, and gain invaluable experience that they could use in the future. And just ensuring that these students could be a part of it and be engaged in our campus is what ASI should be focused on, especially ever since COVID, when things have kind of been going down. So as ASI, I believe we have to make sure our students are engaged on campus and their voices are heard. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Given that that is our timing for our general question, we'll then transition on over to our positional question. And this one's going to start off with our presidents. And so each president will basically be given 2 minutes to respond. And we're going to start off with Natalie, please. And the question is going to be, the president of ASI has an important role
Tyler,
in
I'm
setting...
sorry. That would be Adderall first.
My apologies, everyone. Adderall, can I please have you lead us off with this answer, please? And the question is, the president of ASI has an important role in setting the tone for the year. What tone would you want to set, and how would you go about setting it? Once again, the question is, the president of ASI has an important role in setting the tone for the year. What tone would you want to set, and how would you go about setting it?
Thank you. So the tone that I would like to set is kind of similar to the tone that's kind of being set now. I definitely want to have more. I'm so sorry. I'm in Mendocino currently, and there's a class being out right now. I want to have a growth being one of the things that we have. We're all students and we grow as much as that we can. I want to set the tone that we can always push forward, and we can expand on the current resources that we have. I don't want to just focus on this or that, or just focus on like the little things in life. I believe that, if you wanted to go big or go home, is what I always have led with. And I think that this is what the tone that I would want to say, because I think everyone brings something to the table, and the fact that we all work together now, I would like to expand our resources more and push our growth more. And because we're already doing that, might as well continue to work, because at the end of the day, we'll be able to do something really great. ASI oversees a lot of amazing stuff, and being able to grow together would just be really amazing. So that's the tone that I would set up. And having the free communication, at the end of the day, like I mentioned earlier, we're all students. It really doesn't matter if I'm the director for arts and letters, your president, vice president. If we all can have that free communication with each other, is how a good team works together. And yeah, that would be the tone that I would like to set.
Thank you, Adderall. We will now be hearing from Natalie, please. And the question is as follows. The president of ASI has an important role in setting the tone for the year. What tone would you want to set, and how would you go about setting it?
Thank you for the question, Tyler. I think this is a very important question, and something that whoever wins the ASI presidential ticket needs to keep in mind about what tone they want to set for the next year. And the tone that we're hoping to set is having a welcoming, friendly, and uplifting tone here in ASI. It's very important that our students, that every single student here on campus feels welcome to come into the office and feels uplifted by their elected officials. It's very important that all students can come in, share their ideas, share their opinions, or even criticisms. about ASI and what they hope to see within their elected officials, and making sure that their voices are heard. Not only like, this is what we're doing in ASI and you get to know later. No, you should be a part of that process and knowing what's going on with your elected officials and feel uplifted that we are helping you achieve your goals, that we together have that common goal of making sure we're achieving and accomplishing our same goal to get the best education possible. So it's very important that our students aren't afraid, that they don't come into the office and they're intimidated, that they can come in with free spirit and an open mind to know that all of their elected officials will hear them out. And if we cannot help them, we're going to send them off to someone who can probably help them more than we can. But we definitely want to make sure that our students don't feel scared. And that's absolutely the last thing that we would want for a student to say, I don't feel comfortable going into the ASI office. I don't feel comfortable with my elected official. And that is absolutely not the tone that we want to set. We want to make sure our students feel safe, especially with the representatives that they elect, whether they are the ones they voted for or not. At the end of the day, we are all here for the common goal to serve our students and to make sure we all feel welcomed and heard and uplifted. And I think that is a tone that we make sure we want to set to make sure all students feel welcomed into our office. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. We will now be hearing from Emily, please. And you have 2 minutes to respond. The question is, the president of ASI has an important role in setting the tone for the year. What tone would you want to set and how would you go about setting it?
Hey, thank you for the question, Tyler. In true Model UN spirit, I would believe that the tone that I would like to set for the year is similar to SDG 16, which is peace, justice, and strong institutions. Peace in the way that I want to make sure that students coming on campus feel like it's home. Because let's face it, our school is a commuter school, and coming all the way just to feel unsafe on campus, especially with the current atmosphere going on, doesn't feel so peaceful. So just kind of making sure, reaching out to students, seeing what kind of safeguards we can put in space, or whether it feel or enhancing on the feeling of inclusivity on campus is something that I would like to work on more as president. Just kind of work on the more peace, or making sure that students feel at peace when they come on campus. Justice in the way of, when I reference justice, I mean equity, making sure that campus is a little more accessible, like having more interpreters, or perhaps making sidewalks a little bit more better, or making sure that accommodations are made for students who are not just suffering from, or not suffering, but who currently have physical disabilities, but also those who do not appear to have any disability of kind, such as mental disabilities. Just making sure that accommodations are made and sort of like bridging that digital divide also, or just bridging any like equity gaps that are possible. And strong institutions by branching on like what we currently have in place in the student body, because it's one thing to also just like expand on resources, but also it's one thing to look back, see what's wrong with the current institutions we have in place, and see like how can we improve this without exhausting ourselves. And I feel like the overall tone is more of like a callback, see like where we came from as an institution, and branch on it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Emily. We will now circle back on over and hear from our executive vice presidents, where they will have 2 minutes to respond. And Christopher, you will be leading us with this answer. And it as follows. The executive vice president is responsible for assisting the ASI committees and work teams. What role do you think committees and work teams should play at ASI, and how would you help them accomplish that role? Once again, the question is the executive vice president is responsible for assisting the ASI committees and work teams. What role do you think committees and work teams should play at ASI, and how would you help them accomplish that role?
Thank you for the question, Tyler. I think our committees and work teams are super important. They are student run most of the time, as well as student oriented, and a lot of them have faculty and students combined. And it's so important that we have these committees and these work groups so that we can all, as a university, move forward towards a more equitable goal. Because while we are here advocating for students' needs and things like that, you also need to hear faculty's points of view. And in these work groups and committees, there are faculty members that have many more years of experience on us, that have different insights that can help us answer questions that, we might understand, or they might give advice to the committees, as well as give insight that might not have been given. As well as, I think it's important that or let me rephrase that. I think the number one priority of these committees is to really help forward whatever it is. So it's whether it's the financial committee or it's a committee on sexual assault or the committee on food insecurities. These are all important committees and they all need to achieve their goals. And if elected executive vice president, I would love to help them in any way possible. I would love to sit down with these committees, the directors of those committees or whoever leads them, discuss what their needs might be, see what resources we can give them, how we can help them, and as well as hear them out, bring them to ASI meetings, have them schedule presentations with them so they can talk to the board members that might not be going to these committee meetings, relay information back and forth from these committees to the board so that as a whole, we can be more effective communicators and solve more problems. As well as I believe that one way we can accomplish this is open communication, constantly meeting with the people who chair these committees or head these committees and things like that. And just constantly talking to them and keeping up to date. And if time allows, to even myself attend these meetings to hear what's going on.
Thank you, Christopher. We will now be hearing from Veronica, please. And the question is, the executive vice president is responsible for assisting the ASI committees and work teams. What role do you think committees and work teams should play at ASI, and how would you help them accomplish that role? You have 2 minutes to respond.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the biggest role that our ASI committees and work teams play in ASI is that it really helps us amplify the student voice and put the student voice in different conversations, where sometimes, we are the only student voice, the ASI board members, but we want to make sure through the committees that students get to amplify their voice as well. And I think that the best way that we can make sure that that happens is mainly through empowering these committees to advocate on behalf of themselves. We do a lot of work with Student Academic Senate, where we have been able to empower the board members or the committee members to go to the faculty senate and to speak on behalf of themselves. And that's what these committees are there for. We want to make sure that every single student inside of them continues to come back to the committees. It's not just the same, 4 or 5 students in every committee. That we're expanding these committees into other groups on campus, but that these students are continuing to come back and that they're advocating for themselves, that we can empower them to go outside of just our committee and go and advocate for other issues on campus. So that's a big part of the work teams. I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable. I want to make sure people feel empowered and basically just feel that they're advocating in the way that they want to, feel that their voice is being heard in these committees and work teams.
Thank you, Veronica. We will now be hearing from Bashar, please. And the question is, the executive vice president is responsible for assisting the ASI committees and work teams. What role do you think committees and work teams should play at ASI, and how would you help them accomplish that role?
Thank you. So we have a lot of committees in ASI, and that's great. It's a way for students to participate in student government and get their voices heard. And that's the role they play in ASI. It's a way for students to participate and make change on campus, and something they can excel in. I mean, for example, a student who's more into fighting for inclusivity on campus, for social justice, would join the Social Justice and Equity Council, something they could excel in, something they could represent themselves in, and perhaps create a change on campus for. And they can implement their ideas into that system and gain invaluable experience from it. So the question is, how would I help the committees? I think it's important to get more political participation in from our students, and working with our board of executive directors, I could use their help to get more students to be recruited into these committees that they could possibly excel in and make a change in and gain that experience from, and to show them what they can accomplish and achieve in these committees. And so to do that, I would love to recruit more students, and that is what I could possibly do with them other than help lead these committees and work with our executive directors to make change in them. So Sac State is really a home away from home for 32,000 people. And what our committees does is make sure that these students can come into our committees and ensure a change so that this campus can become that home for them. Without that change and without our voices being heard, we can't make that be possible. So that is really what our committees does, and that's what I hope to work on continuing to achieve. Thank you for your time.
All right, given that that is our timing and for our segment of the positional questions, we will now be going on over to a 4-minute closing statement from each ticket essentially, where they will be giving a 4-minute joint closing statement, and then we'll be doing our Q&A session. So can I please have Adderall and Chris please lead us with a 4-minute closing statement, please?
Of course, thank you, Tyler. With closing, I just wanted to say with both of us holding a lot of positions, from me being an orientation leader, being a peer mentor, from being a student manager at Student Health and Counseling Services, to currently being the college director for Arts and Letters, we've heard a lot of complaints, we've heard a lot of problems, and so far we're not seeing any solution being done to it, and we're not seeing the evidence when said we're working on something. Like I mentioned earlier, transparency is everything to me. Now, I don't know if that's a journalism major or that's a comms thing, but I just love being able to communicate very thoroughly and have the students' voices be heard through us as we get to go to CSSA meetings, our presidential cabinet meetings, and etc. And having this position would mean that you are always with us and that you are never left behind, which is how I felt for a very long time, which is one of the reasons why I decided to challenge myself even more and campaign for the presidential ticket. Yeah.
And piggybacking off what Adderall said earlier about not seeing change, students bring a lot of concerns forward to everyone, their teacher, their professors, their deans, ASI, and they never see the actual change follow through. They hear that something's happening, something's going on. And as working in the Resident Hall Association, we have brought forward many issues about the dining, about resident issues. And we've heard, we're working on it and see nothing done. And that needs to change. And if elected, we want to really hold these companies accountable, because it's students' tuition that's paying, at the end of the day, that's paying all of these professors' salaries, all these people's salaries. And they're there to support and work for the students. And if they're not being transparent with their plans and how they're fixing problems, that's an issue. We want to keep them more accountable, as well as working with faculty and students to make it open more communication, so that students feel like they have avenues to go down, and that because of hopefully the transparency, they feel like they are seeing actual change in the school, instead of hearing about it or getting a sack send about it, or feeling like something's being answered or being dealt with too late and it's not being addressed right away. And yes, that is college. There are systems in place that do take time, but it's important to inform students that while it does take time, it's something that's happening, and we want to keep students along, but we want to take them along for the ride. We want to let them know that while if it is a process that's taking a couple weeks, that there's tons of board meetings or what's going on, let them know, inform students, and just let the student population know that we hear their concerns. We're working through their concerns, and that they are all valid, and as well as, if elected, we really do want to try helping get more resources to the MLK Center, the APITA Center, take them out of Lassen Hall, move them to more accessible locations, and help our very diverse campus feel like they actually have a home. Because as a whole, I feel like our university loves to say that we're super diverse and use it as points and to get money and fundraising and things like that. And we are a beautifully diverse campus. Yet most of the time, I feel like we talk the talk and we don't walk the walk. And that's something that we want to change, and we want to bring the students along to change with. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Adderall, for your closing statement. We will now be hearing from Natalie and Veronica, please.
Thank you so much. So as we mentioned earlier, Natalie and I currently serve on the ASI Board of Directors, which basically helped us shape our priorities. We want to advocate for campus safety, for diversity and equity, institutional barriers, and the first year / transfer orientation system and basic needs. We've advocated for campus safety by holding forums to give students a chance to share their grievances with the administration, because no student should feel unsafe on our campus. We've prioritized diversity and equity because as one of the most diverse campuses in the CSU system, we don't see that reflected in our faculty and administration. We've worked with administration on a committee tackling the institutional barriers on our campus to make sure that students are receiving the education that they deserve. We've started the conversations about revamping our entire first year / transfer student orientation system to make sure that students are successful coming into our campus. We've worked with CARES and other campus partners to expand and improve our basic needs. Students shouldn't be expected to succeed academically if they're facing food insecurity or homelessness. Most importantly, we understand the limitations that come with ASI and the university when advocating for these issues. We're confident that faculty and administration know us, they know our faces, and we've already interacted with them on many occasions. We have started the conversations, and we hope that as ASI president and as the executive vice president, we can continue the conversations that we've started. Natalie serves as one of the 3 student voices on our faculty senate, where she works with faculty and administration to provide the student perspective and advocate for academic issues. Natalie also chairs the ASI Student Academic Senate, where she's worked with the committee members to create policy change. I serve as one of the only students on the Academic Policies Committee, where I've pushed for faculty to add mental health accommodations into our excused absence policy and helped make changes that benefit students and on many other academic policies. I'm prepared to take on the role as executive vice president because I currently also serve as the vice chair of the board, where I've chaired the ASI board meetings many times. I also currently serve on the ASI Green Team, which is something that I would be chairing as the executive vice president. We've both authored and co-authored many pieces of legislation surrounding higher education, Title IX, diversity and inclusion, and academic issues. We want everyone to remember that we're all here for a common goal, to serve the students at Sac State. We hope you vote Natalie and Veronica on April 12th and 13th because we have the experience to lead, the passion to advocate, and the dedication to serve. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Veronica and Natalie. We will now be closing out with Emily and Bashar, please.
Emily, would you like to start off?
So first of all, thank you for having us on here. It's been an honor. At the very end of the day, while we are presidential candidates, we are students first. And just being on here, being able to run in the first place, making sure that it is equitable for all students to run has already been sort of reflective of what we want also. When stepping into our positions, making sure that even the most unattainable of goals is within one's reach. So we're essentially just kind of running for students. We want to make sure that students are included throughout the entire process, and that we'd also like to acknowledge that there's both an abundance and disparity on campus, abundance in resources in ways how students can engage, but a disparity as there are still equity gaps. There are still students who don't know where to go. There are students who still feel intimidated by the systems put in place. So I'm going to hand it off to Bashar.
Yeah. So me and Emily first started off talking to each other before we became a presidential ticket, talking about how as students, we realized there are certain problems on campus that need to be solved. And it started off with things like our student demographic and our how we have so many transfer students, a wide variety of them, and how a good amount of them are parent students or, for example, students with non-physical disabilities. And we realized that these students need to be accounted for, and particularly when it came to me, for example, my mom is a student parent, and she has four parents, and she is trying to get a bachelor's degree like I am, while also holding a job. And we realized that there's not too many things for her on campus to advocate for her, or our many other student parents. For example, we may have a daycare, but what else can we do to ensure that their schedule is being followed so that student parents and other people have a better ability to stay on campus and to get that degree so our retention rate can rise up. And for example, other things like our mental health on campus, though I realized we passed Senate Bill 11, which creates more opportunities for more counselors, we do have other things like timely MD, which needs to be put into place. And it could help a lot of students who may not be able to get their help when they need it, whether it's like 2 a.m. in the morning and no counselor is available, or counselors have a big workload and can't help at the moment. We want to make sure that these people, our students, are getting the help that they deserve. And that is one way to do it. And we also want to push for a more DEIJ campus and continue that push, because we realize that there could be a lot more done to it. And we want to make sure that it's a lot more inclusive for us on campus. Overall, we want to make sure that no student is left behind, and that we accept that though we are one nest, we are many hornets. And again, I would like to end it off by saying we're running for students by students, and with students in mind throughout the whole process. We want to ensure nothing but the very best for all our students here in Sacramento, whether you're California native or you've traveled a couple thousand miles like Emily to be on our campus. We want to make sure that this is your home. This nest is yours, and we will ensure that we can do everything in our power to make sure that you are empowered and make it across the finish line while you are here for your undergraduate or graduate studies. As President Nelson says, Sacramento is #1, and we truly are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bashar and Emily. I appreciate everyone's responses today. We will now be going on over to our Q&A session from our audience. And before we get started, just to go over a little bit of our guidelines, can I please have you put every question in the chat, the Q&A portion of our chat, please? And can I please also have you include your first and last name, as well as your question with the candidate. And to also note to our audience members, we will not be allowing any candidate that is currently running to pose a question to any of our candidates here today. I'd also like to note that any question posed will be answered and asked by all questions. Asked and answered by all candidates unless they directed towards executive role or the presidential role. Alrighty, just to go over a little bit of some upcoming events. As you all should most likely know, tomorrow our voting starts and we will having our polling site open from 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So please continue to campaign and advocate to others and spreading the word about your campaign. And also note, please continue to talk to all the clubs as well. We have over 260 clubs on our ballot this year where they have the amazing opportunity to participate in our Cash for Clubs program or initiative. Basically, within that was $500 and corresponding down for first 500, second 400, and so forth. And each vote is essentially each person is one vote, and each vote is $5, and that $5 will be added on basically in addition to the top 5, depending on where they rank. In terms of the election party for tomorrow as well, we're having a kickoff event hosted in the library quad area from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So please feel free to come and campaign there as well. And also just continue to meet with other constituents. And then also following the closure of our polling site on Thursday, April 13th, we'll be having an election results party where you are all more than happy to join us. We'll be going on over the results of our election for this season. So hi, Elizabeth. I see your question here within the chat. Just for clarification purposes, is this just for the presidents or is this for the executive VPs as well? Alrighty. Seeing we also do have a question here from Sandra, our executive director, and this is for all of our tickets and candidates here today. How do you plan to communicate your message to the student body? What methods do you envision utilizing? Once again, the question is for all tickets, how do you plan to communicate your message to the student body? And what methods do you envision utilizing? And to start us off, we will have Adderall and Christopher to answer, please. And you have 1 minute to respond.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for your question. I just continue to communicate the way that I am currently communicating with my constituents, which is through social media. It's as much as, social media has some negative aspect, it has some positive aspect as well. One way for communications is through social media and making sure that you constantly are posting your updates, making sure that you're more of a friend to them than the president, I guess you can say, because at the end of the day, we are all students. And so what I want to do is just do what I'm doing right now, like a day in the life of the president. Like, come with me to my committee meetings, and keep that method going because it has been working right now. And it has shown by the statistics that I have gained from it. And I want to be able to continue that if elected.
And briefly on how I would communicate and effectively communicate with students.
Thank you for that answer, y'all. We will now be hearing from Natalie and Monica, please. And the question is going to be, how do you plan to communicate your message to the student body? What methods do you envision utilizing? You have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you, Sandra, for your question. I think this is a very important question of how to disseminate who we are and then the information we have about ASI. And I think we've already started that as we both serve on the board already. It's outreach. It's going into these centers, going into the clubs, the organizations, and keeping an open line of communication for everyone to come and talk to us, not just through, here's my email and I'll get back to you 3 to 5 business days. Here's my number. Reach out to me whenever you need me. Or if you need to talk to this person, let me help you and give you a warm handoff to talk to this person. So it's definitely the outreach and making sure people know who we are, knowing that we're students as well and not just elected officials, so that they don't feel intimidated coming into the office, because it's very important for students to know who their representatives are and have the opportunity to speak with them if they do have issues on campus. So the outreach, making sure that they know who we are and knowing that we share similar goals and struggles, and making sure that we have that open line of communication. Thank you.
Thank you, y'all. We will now be hearing from Emily Bashar, please. And the question will remain the same of how do you plan to communicate your message to the student body? What methods do you envision utilizing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think for us, it's about making sure that students can hear us and that they know what we're trying to accomplish. First of all, I want to say that I do plan on addressing closing the digital divide, and that counts for students who can't even make it on campus. I want to make sure that they can actually see us online, see what we're trying to say online, whether it's social media, through Saxon, through email, whatever it is, and making sure that students who can't see stuff digitally can also go onto campus and see them, whether it's through the union, through posted papers or whatnot, making sure that there's always a way to see what we're trying to do, and also going out there to students and communicating with them, whether it's through our organizations, our clubs, our extracurriculars, making sure that students are aware of our presence, and also letting them know just how easy it is to communicate with us.
Thank you for that answer. We will now be going on over to our question from Elizabeth. It is going to be asked to Adderall and Christopher first, please. How will the president work with other members of the board to get things done? Once again, the question is, how will the president work with other members of the board to get things done? And you have 1 minute to respond.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think that this is a really important question for when, for any like work environment. The one thing that I want to ensure from the beginning is to build the relationship with every single board member. I want to be able to have a connection with them so that they feel comfortable coming up to me and me feeling comfortable going up to them and being like, hey, there's this resolution. I remember you telling me something about that. Do you want to write this resolution together and then present that together to the board? I think transparency is very important, as I mentioned with the previous other questions. And just being able to build a connection from the beginning at the retreat that we go on to is what sets the tone also for the board and for the academic year.
Thank you. We will now transition on over to Natalie and Veronica, please. And the question will remain the same of how will the president work with other members of the board to get things done?
Thank you, Elizabeth, for your question. And this is a very important question, as we cannot be an accomplished board if there is no open line of communication, if we don't establish a healthy relationship from the beginning. I mean, us being on the board already, we've already became great friends, but we're also colleagues working together on issues that sometimes we not might agree with, but that doesn't affect our relationship personally or as friendship wise. So I think it's very important that the president has these open lines of communication with the board members and letting them know, hey, I'm human too. Sometimes I'm going through things, and sometimes we can just talk about it and what's going on in life and how can I help you and what can we do together to solve this issue. So I think it's very important to establish from the beginning that we are both board members, but we're both humans, we're both students, and we're both going through things, and it's okay. And definitely making sure that they know that their president is there to support them and vice versa. And anything that we go through throughout the academic year and serving on the board, and just keeping a open line of communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. We will now transition on over to Emily, please. And the question is still going to be the same of how will the president work with other members of the board to get things done?
Hey, thank you for the question, Elizabeth. So it definitely lies on two main things for me, which is accountability and compromise. When you're working with other board members, especially like new ones that you aren't really familiar with, you're definitely going to bump into people that you don't like. And, when working on resolutions, maybe, they want to like add something in, maybe you want to add something in, and then sometimes it can go at odds. So I feel like, just sort of like calling back to the common goal that you and other fellow board members are trying to achieve, and making sure that all of you guys are included there, whether it be a little bit of compromise, so and so, is really what's important. And it's also very key in building that relationship, especially when you want to sort of ask for accountability, whether I as president lag on something, whether when other board members lag on something too. It's making sure that not only are we accountable for each other's actions, but making sure that as as a board, we also have each other's back. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. We will now be hearing from our last question from Jen, and this will start us off with Adderall and Christopher, please, to give us a response. And the question is going to be, with the recent events on campus that have occurred, how will you, as president and EVP, work with campus partners in the board to ensure a safe campus for all students? And this is going to be for Adderall Ayubalan and Christopher Gill, please.
Thank you, Jen. That's a really good question. And I honestly a very vital one, because to be honest, it's now, I think, 6 sexual assaults on campus is 6 too many. And one of the things we want to do is work really closely with Weave. I'm in my position as Resident Hall Association President. With what recently happened in the resident halls, I am currently actively working with Weave to work on solutions, work and getting counselors out there, as well as, if elected, one of the things we want to do is hire more Weave advocates so that the victims of sexual assault have a place to go and they don't feel like they're being silenced, that as a campus, we are here to listen to them. And that while they might not have the resources to or the funding to go outside of campus to get the help they need, that they can get it here, include it in Sac State. They can do it between classes and feel like they're getting the help that they need. And we want to work with the MLK Center by making more diversity on campus, as well as making them feel like our students feel that they have a place to go and that the MLK Center isn't hidden, and that they can access they have all the resources that they need and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you, both of you, for your answer. We will now be hearing from Natalie Andre Dominguez and Veronica Bulos, please, where the question was posed by Jen Galinito. With the recent events on campus that have occurred, how will you, as president and executive vice president, work with campus partners in the board to ensure a safer campus for all students? You have 1 minute to respond.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think the first step is continuing the forums that we've already put in place. Last semester, there was a forum that ASI helped out with a little bit. This semester, we led our own forum to basically bring the student voice to administrators. We put them out on the stage and had them answer our questions and had them give us updates on what they were doing, considering the recent cases of SA on our campus. But the second step is holding them accountable to those things that they're doing. We wrote a resolution in support of our Sacramento State community. And basically, in the end of it, we outlined all the things that we expect them to do, and both including expanding the resources that we have and bringing more resources on campus. So that's how we heard all of those concerns from students. That's how we knew what we needed to target specifically, whether it's the lights or escort system, anything like that. And we want to continue those conversations with them and hold them actually accountable to all of those things that we outlined in the resolution.
Thank you for your answer. We will now be hearing from Emily and Bashar, please. And the question is going to remain the same of, with the recent events on campus that have occurred, how will you, as president and executive vice president, work with campus partners and the board to ensure a safe campus for all students?
Thank you, Tyler. So it's an important question, and I do believe that it's a tough one to answer, but as representatives and from a student body, we do have to answer it. And so I want to say that I would work with our Wellness, Safety, and Sexual Assault Committee, working with the Office of the President and all of our executive directors with coming up with a solution. But it's important to keep in mind that this is higher ed and this stuff takes time. So what me and Emily discussed is creating momentum so that we can start working on a solution with all these bodies, but also making sure that it passes on to the next administration so that they could also work on it. So it's not just lost progress, because it takes time in higher ed. So we want to make sure that we can get our work done and that it goes on. And we want to make sure that we hear out all students through forums, through rallies, through just talking one-on-one with them, making sure that their voices are heard and that we're advocating for them, not just what we believe in, but for them. Again, it's students first, and I hate to hear about the fact that students on our campus.
I'm sorry, but the
That's fine.
speaker's time has elapsed. And
Thank
that
you for
was
your
the
time, Will.
last. Yes, I appreciate all of you spending your time here with us here today. But that was all of our questions for all of our candidates. Please go out and vote and continue to campaign, please, for Wednesday and Thursday. And I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for joining.